Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3, testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, testing, testing. We're good. Turn down his volume here. Damn. Place done messed up my hair. Ain't that a bitch? Alright, I had to go find my hat. Whew. Alright. Y'all ready for this one? This is going to be a crazy one right here. It's going to be a crazy, crazy live. Okay. What's going on, man? Yo, what's going on? Yeah, I got a lot of them. I paid for... how many did I buy? I don't know, 100 beats, something like that. I need to actually refresh my beats. I actually need to re-upload. I think I have 50 in StreamYard, something like that. I need to upload the other 50 and switch them out. We got huge news. We have 3. Let's see. We have multiple stories, huge stories that came out of nowhere. Saw one story last night and I said, we're talking about this today. And then as the day rolled on, we have 2 more ginormous stories with Samsung. Some of these stories you're not going to like. I know some people right off of the bat are not going to like, but let's go ahead and get into it. So, if you catch the replay, I know I'm watching the numbers. I'm seeing a lot of people, my live streams, YouTube, take you a little bit behind the scenes. So the reason why I kind of got away from doing live streams in the past 6 months is because YouTube, they switched up their algorithm. So in the past, if you would do a live stream, if you did not watch it while it was live, when the live stream was over, say I live stream now from, let's say where I get done in 30 minutes, well, in 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours from now, 5, 6, 7 hours at nighttime, if you refresh your YouTube feed, YouTube would not recommend the live stream replay, meaning if you didn't catch the live stream and it was live, you would miss it. Now, YouTube is putting the live stream, if you missed it, in your feed so you can go back and watch the replay. Now, what I've started to do on the last 1 or 2 live streams, if you want to skip this intro, because I know it's a pain in the ass, if you watch the replay, I play music for a few seconds or few minutes while I kind of get stuff ready behind the scenes, but I know it's a pain in the ass to just sit there, especially if you're watching the replay. So if you watch the replay in the future, go down into the description box. I'm going to put a timestamp or the start time. Whenever we start the show, if it's 2 minutes and 32 seconds into the show, I'm going to put a timestamp where it says start show 2 minutes 32 seconds. So if you ever will catch the replay and you want to skip through this, the very beginning, just go down into the video description and hit the start of the show and the timestamps. But we'll go ahead and get started. I still got to ship cases out. So my daughter's birthday is tomorrow. busy today getting stuff ready. Over the weekend, I was got a lot of projects going on. Give me some time. I should have them. I was aiming for this weekend, but I'm gonna have to push it back a day or two because my daughter's birthday is tomorrow, and I gotta, as soon as this is over, I gotta go run and buy her a, what is it, Nintendo Switch 2, something like that. So all those things are sold out. I think Target has some in stock, but I'm trying to whisper. But anyways, I'll probably get your cases shipped out on Wednesday, okay? But we'll get them done. So let's go ahead and get started. So Samsung, huge news. So, and it makes sense. Now, I know some of you are not going to like this news. In fact, I know some of y'all are going to hate this news, but it is what it is. I knew this day would come. I just didn't know when, right? Well, it looks like it's on the horizon. So we're going to get to that. Let's see here. Why don't we do this? So we'll start with the news that's more relevant to us, the users, in as far as time, that will affect us as far as on a roadmap the soonest, and then we'll deal with the biggest news, which is obviously down the road in a couple of years. But we did get news today that we're going to see some major changes. But as you know, the upcoming Samsung Galaxy Foldables, the new Fold 7 and Flip 7, right around the corner. I think we got a release date of July 9th. Is that right? It's like 9th or the 12th, something like that. But it's just it's 2-3 weeks away. Obviously, the Nothing Phone 3 is coming out in a week, but the foldables will be coming out in the following week, second week of July. And we got some confirmation. So in previous live streams, I told you that Samsung was going to switch up the CPU, the processor of the Flip series. So the Flip 7, told you that Samsung was going to rock their Exynos 2500 CPU global. So you will not get a region-specific CPU, because in the past they would split. US would always get Qualcomm, and the rest of the world would get Exynos. No. And this will be a slow but quick transition, and we'll move into the future with Samsung and their CPUs. But Samsung is going to implement their Exynos 2500 CPU in all Flip 7s. That means if you buy it here in the US, you're getting the Exynos 2500. If you buy it in Australia, you're getting the Exynos 2500. If you buy it in South Korea, Samsung's home country, you're going to get the Exynos 2500. They're actually manufacturing their new 2 nanometer nodes, all those future CPUs here, not too far from where I'm at. They're building a new fab just outside of Austin for all their 2 nanometers. So you're looking at the 2600 Exynos, 2700 Exynos, are all going to be built here about an hour from where I'm sitting right now. But let me show you what I'm talking about. So we got some details on the Flip 7, right? So let me pull this up. Of course. Here we go. Of course. Here we go. So I'm going to link this website in the description box once we're done. So if you're watching this, it should be there. If you're watching the replay, it should be there. But Galaxy Z Flip 7, here are some performance upgrades that you can expect. Now, they're going to release a Flip 7. They're going to release a Fold 7, which we reviewed a couple days ago. And they're going to release a Flip 7 FE. They're going to release a Fan Edition Flip. So what the FE version is going to essentially be a rebranded Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 6. It's just going to be branded as the Flip 7 FE. Basically going to take all those units, put FE branding on it, and push it out, which for a lower price, right? I think they're going to sell those for $700. The FE, Flip 7 FE, 700, Flip 7, 1,000, and then your Fold 7 should be like $18.99. But let's get into the Flip 7 since that made news for the day. The South Korean company said they are going to release all Flip 7s with the Exynos 2500 worldwide. It is a 3 nanometer chipset with the gate-all-around packing process. It will have a bunch of AI features. So am I anxious? I would lie if I said no, but I have a weird confidence in this 2500. I don't know why. I think because they're on the right track, because with the Exynos 2400, what did they put the 2400 in? They put the 2400 in some Galaxy devices. Was it the S25 series? In select regions, but it got decent reviews, right? It's not as powerful as the X Elite, but it's close, right? And it didn't, from what I see, it performed very well. Didn't really overheat. It looks like they're on the right track. So that's why I can't really say I'm that nervous. I think they're on the right track. Now, we got new colors. So all y'all know, you're going to get the traditional white. You're going to get the traditional black. Now, I think these colors we see online right here for the Flip 7, the blue, the orange, and then the Phantom Black, which they like to call it. I think these will be Samsung exclusive colors. I think you're going to get the traditional white and regular black in the carriers, the ones you can get at the carriers, right? So the Exynos 2500 will have a ton of Galaxy AI features. Chip can run 59 trillion operations per second. 59 tops, which is actually a lot. Which makes it 39% better at processing AI functionalities over the previous year's Exynos 2400. That's why I'm kind of anxious to see how this does. It looks like a very strong performer. Now, it's going to retain, this new Flip 7 is going to retain the 50 megapixel primary camera. Let's see, AI will help process some of these photos. You will get a really good gaming. So here's another reason why I'm kind of interested. I think I'm going to get this. Because I really want to test the CPU. And we'll get into why in a little bit, but it's gonna be a pretty strong performer. It's gonna have an all new GPU. Typically in the past, Samsung, I don't think they would implement their own GPU. I think in the past, don't quote me on this, but I think in the past they would outsource the GPU, meaning Samsung would make the CPU, but they would outsource and pair it with another company's GPU. I think from what my memory serves me right, they're putting an all-new Samsung GPU in here as well, the Eclipse 950. It's supposed to be a very, very good GPU for graphics, frame rates, things of that sort. Now, it's going to have an updated modem as well. So we all know the new Snapdragon 8 Elites have a phenomenal modem in them. And this one looks like it's going to be pretty freaking strong as well, with download speeds, theoretical download speeds of 9.6 gigs per second and 12.1 gigs per second. These are the same benchmarks as the Exynos 2400 phone. So it looks like it's going to have a phenomenal modem in there. Let's see. It's also going to have satellite connectivity. Who cares? I don't. Satellite connectivity is like a few years away from like really mattering. Like right now, the only time you would need and or use satellite connectivity is if you're hiking and or if you don't get any mobile connectivity. You can't even activate satellite connectivity unless you get zero mobile data and or carrier services. It's like if you're out in the boonies, or if you're hiking on Mount Everest, or who does that? Who goes hiking in Mount Everest? You know what I'm saying? Or Pikes Peak in Colorado. I get it, it's a popular attraction, but 99% of people, I've had a satellite ready or satellite enabled phone for the last 2 years, and it's never even been enabled, right? I tried, you can't even manually enable it. It's weird, but who cares about satellite connectivity? Apple tries to tout that. It's bullshit right now. Nobody needs that right now, unless you want to go to Pikes Peak or Mount Everest. But so there's the Flip 7. Now, diving a little bit deeper, the Exynos 2500 with a 10-core CPU, 4th generation Eclipse GPU with satellite connectivity. We'll dive a little bit more into the specifics. So the Samsung, now, you're going to get familiar with this processor because here's a little tease, and we're going to get into what devices in the future. Samsung, take my word for it, Samsung's going to slowly back away from Qualcomm and slowly implement their own CPUs in more products. You heard me right. We've been so accustomed, at least here in the United States, that when you get a Samsung device, well, it's got that strong Qualcomm CPU in it, right? Yeah, it has in the past, but moving into the future, the farther we get away from today, the more devices Samsung's going to put their own CPU in their own devices. Well, we'll get into that in a second. But this Exynos 2500 boasts a 10-core CPU with one Cortex X5 core clocked at 3.3 gigs, two Cortex A725 cores running at 2.74 gigs, five Cortex A725 cores clocked at 2.36 gigs, and two Cortex A520 cores running at 1.8 gigs. So you see their 10-core CPU is really designed for heavy loads, for gaming workloads, for efficiency, for light tasking. I think this is going to be an all-round good CPU, a good CPU. Let's see. Samsung continued their partnership with AMD Graphics, implement some AMD nodes and/or technology in this CPU. The new Exynos chip brings the Xclipse 950 GPU made from AMD's RDNA3 architecture. So AMD kind of leased out some of their technology to Samsung to implement it into their GPU. Now that's not unheard of. Qualcomm has done the same thing with their Orion cores, with their new 8 Elite and the 8 Elite Gen 2. Kind of implement some desktop technology and or architecture into bringing that into the mobile world. Samsung has partnered with AMD. I believe they signed a 5-year partnership where they're going to share some technologies, and that helps AMD because they're looking to get into more mobile applications and vice versa. So that is a partnership I don't think we announced here. But they did sign that partnership a little while ago, maybe 6 months ago. This new GPU makes it compatible with hardware accelerated ray tracing. Let's see. The company claims Exynos 2500 processor delivers 15% faster multi-core CPU performance than the Exynos 2400. Its NPU, neural processing unit, is also 39% faster, while ray tracing games embrace a 28% faster frame rate. God damn. Samsung also confirmed Exynos 5400 5G modem that offers 12.1 gigs download speeds, an impressive upgrade for the cellular segment with satellite connectivity, also featured in the Exynos 2500 chipset. Now, the Exynos 5400 modem, if that sounds familiar, it should be same modem that's in the Pixel 9 series. Good modem, actually very good modem. It may not be the absolute best modem you can get, but it's up there. Like, it's definitely not shabby. They definitely took a step up. It's a low power, high processing modem. Y'all, if anybody watched my T-Mobile test of their new network, you would know just how fast this modem is, because it gets blazing. It almost gets as fast as a modem that's in the Snapdragon 8 Elite here in the S25. So good pairing Samsung with their CPU, their GPU, and their modem. It's going to go in this Flip 7, and I can't wait. I'm actually really excited. It will have LDDR5X RAM, UFS 4.0 storage, optics. It'll support up to 320 megapixel sensors, but who's putting a 320 megapixel sensor in any phone? Maybe 30 years in the future, but not now. 8K recording, 30 frames per second. It will do 4K, 60 frames per second. It'll do everything, right? Let's see. It is a 3 nanometer chip made using fan-out wafer level packaging that offers enhanced efficiency while reducing overheating concerns for a small package. So you will see this packing, how Samsung packs their CPUs. They do have overheating in mind to try to alleviate that heat that is generated. You will also see a vapor chamber, an all new design vapor chamber in this Flip 7. So very excited to see how this turns out. Now remember, this Flip 7 is taking a step into the future. The Flip 7 will be no longer the tall and skinny phone that it once was. This thing is going to have the look and the feel, once it's opened, of a S25 Plus. Same width, it's going to be wider this year. Actually, it's a shade wider than the S25 Plus and just as tall. So it'll be like a regular phone when you're using it open, and it'll just simply close. Close shut. Now, oh boy. So, moving forward with this CPU, let me put it like this. So, wouldn't you say, if you were, let's say if you're Samsung, right? Wouldn't it make sense you make the phone, right? And you actually make the CPU, right? But your yield rate, meaning you couldn't really get the packaging right, meaning how these CPUs are made, and the reason why they call them chips is because they're made on this huge cylinder, this round. Oh, there's a whole bunch of CPUs that are manufactured on a wafer, which is why they call them a chip. And there's, I don't know, probably a few hundred CPUs on this round disk. That's how they manufacture them. And then off that disk, then they cut out each individual CPU. Well, Samsung's had an issue with their yield rate, meaning if there's 300 CPUs on that disk, on that wafer, Samsung could only reach like a yield rate of 30% on that whole wafer of all those CPUs, meaning only 3 out of 10 CPUs out of those 300 CPUs would actually physically work properly, pass quality control inspection, and would actually go into phones. So that means they would essentially dump and or try to recycle what they could, but 7 out of 10 of those CPUs on that wafer. TSMC, Samsung not only designs the chips, they manufacture the chips. Apple will design the chip, TSMC will make the chip. Google will design the chip, TSMC make the chip. MediaTek will design the chip, TSMC will make the chip. Samsung does both. Samsung will design the chip and make the chip. And they've had an issue with their yield rating, meaning once you really get close to 70%, it's kind of like in school, right? The passing grade is a 70. If you got a 69, you fail. If you get a 70, you pass, right? Pass-fail rate. Same exact rating, pass-fail rate for the CPU manufacturers. If you can get the yield rate, meaning if you can get 7 out of 10, if you can reach that 7 out of 10 CPUs on this disk, on this wafer, are good and will go into production, that's considered a success. TSMC, so the next generation of CPUs is a 2 nanometer node. It's the race for the 2 nanometer node, meaning the foundation the chip sits on is very small, 2 nanometers. Every year it gets a little smaller and a little smaller and a little smaller. TSMC is currently trying to get to a 70% yield rate. They're at about 60% yield rate for the 2 nanometers. You'll see the 2 nanometer node. You'll see the Snapdragon. I believe the 8 Gen 2 will be on a 2 nanometer. And the Exynos 2600, next year's Samsung flagship CPU, will be on the 2 nanometer. Well, that's the problem with Samsung, and that's the reason why they can't put every Samsung phone with a Samsung Exynos chip, because their yield rate is not that high. They simply can't produce enough CPUs to put in all their phones. So that's why they have to reach out to Qualcomm to put Qualcomm CPUs, to put Snapdragon CPUs in this Samsung phone. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Samsung, their dream is to be not necessarily like Apple, but when I say like Apple or like iPhone, I mean produce a phone or produce mobile devices. In every single mobile device they sell, no matter what model it is, they want a Samsung Exynos CPU in that device, like Google's going to do for their mobile devices with the Tensor G5 CPU. Apple does with their Bionic chips, right? Xiaomi is going to do with their X-Ring CPU. All Xiaomi devices in the future will have a Xiaomi CPU. Samsung, for them to succeed in the future, this is imperative. I think for the Samsung mobile division, I'm not talking about their washer and dryer division. I'm not talking about what else does Samsung do? Their robot vacuums. I'm not talking about that stuff. I'm talking about mobile division. Their phones, tablets, computers. No, because they have a deal with Intel for their CPUs for their laptops. But every phone, every tablet for Samsung Mobile, which is a division of Samsung, for them to succeed, for them to make enough revenue to satisfy the board of directees, they need to put Exynos CPUs in every phone. And they're going to make an enormous push. In fact, they've already started making that push. That CPU warehouse I told you that was right down the highway from here, they had not planned on that being a 2 nanometer manufacturing plant. It is enormous. They did not plan on that. They were going to do larger 4 nanometer and 5 nanometer chips for other industries, not just the phone industry. Well, Samsung said, we're going to turn that, and they just recently made this decision. We're going to turn that new warehouse, that new fabrication plant over here, that's going to be our latest and greatest manufacturing plant for 2 nanometers. So they made a shift in their strategy, and get this. News came out yesterday. They're shooting for the stars, but I like it. And I like it. Every S26 series device is going to have an Exynos CPU. Now, that may be reaching for the stars, like I said, but at the moment, as we sit here on June 23rd, 2025, Samsung has set a goal. Every S26, S26 Plus, and or S26 Edge, and S26 Ultra sold around the world, they're aiming to have an Exynos CPU in there. Now, will they achieve that goal? I have no idea, but they are going to strive for that. Now, is it possible that their yield rates may not be high enough to where, damn it, we're gonna have to pull in we're gonna have to source some more CPUs. Let's reach out to Qualcomm. I don't know their business dealings with Qualcomm. I don't know their contract with Qualcomm. Maybe they'll have to do a split for the the S26 Ultra, I believe, will be split between the Exynos CPU 2600 and the Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 2. But every S25 and S25 Plus and or S25, Jesus Christ, every S26 and S26 Plus and S26 Edge, next year's flagship S26 and S26 Plus and or Edge, will have a Exynos 2600 CPU. The S26 Ultra is going to have split Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 2 and Samsung Exynos 2600 CPU, because that is their plan. Sorry, it's a mouthful, but got it right here. Let me show you. So, they have set up a task force to make this happen. Again, it is imperative for their mobile division to succeed, because here's what's happening. Samsung's in business, all right? What's the main point in business? To make money, right? That's the whole point of business. Well, generate revenue, especially when you're on a massive level like Samsung, where you're a publicly traded company, like you have board of directors, you have certain numbers you got to hit every quarter and or every fiscal year, under a lot of stress. The reason why Samsung is pushing so hard to implement their own CPU to get this right is because the Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 2 is going to be 30% more expensive than the previous year. And guess what? The current Snapdragon 8 Elite was 30% more than the previous year. So in 2 years, you see the prices shoot up for Samsung using these Qualcomm chips for Snapdragon, Over 2 years, the price has gone up 60%. That trend is going to continue. So the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 3 will probably be somewhere around 30% more than the 8 Gen 2. And you can see these numbers piling up. At some point, this cuts into your revenue because Samsung can't continually increase the price of the S25 series, S26 series, S27 series 30% every year, right? Now, I know it doesn't equal that, but I mean, it may be an extra $50 every year. They might, but at what point are people just not going to buy the phone because it's too expensive? Well, another way to cut down on costs is to manufacture your own parts. Make the phone yourself. It costs a lot less than to have to outsource and go buy parts for your phone. So this is the whole reason why Samsung is trying to get the new Exynos line, this new Exynos CPU in these Samsung phones. It looks good for the company because you can really compete. Say, well, Apple's got their own phone and their own CPU. Well, guess what? We got our own phone and CPU. Google's got their own phone and CPU. We got our own phone and CPU. Xiaomi's got their own phone and their own CPU. Well, guess what? We too have our own phone and our own CPU. You see where I'm getting at? Now, we're not going to talk about where that leaves Qualcomm because it looks like Qualcomm's going to be pinched out of the mobile division. That's another story for another day. Maybe we can talk about that tomorrow. Now, just a little, Qualcomm sees this coming, and Qualcomm has already made changes just in case this happens, but another day, another story. So it looks like the Samsung at the moment is shooting for all S26 and whatever. I say S26 Plus and or S26 Edge because we don't know if Samsung's going to keep the Plus model or keep the Edge model. We heard that they had plans to push out the Plus model and bring in the Edge, but the Edge has not sold well at all. So I don't know if that's still on the table. They may just scrap the Edge series altogether, but you will see the small S26 and the medium S26 come with Exynos worldwide. And the S26 Ultra will be split between Exynos and Qualcomm. Just, be a region-specific CPU and or device. So that was big news today. Now let's get into other big news. Now that might upset you. Now let me take a break. I've been talking all. Let me grab a drink of water, and I'm gonna hit you with this news that you're probably not gonna like. Give me a second. Okay, y'all ready for the bad news? Are you sure you're ready for the bad news? Well, I take it back. It may not be bad news. It may be good news for some of y'all. But I know there's going to be a lot of y'all that are not going to like this. There's a damn fly in here. Anyway, if you see me slap my face, that's why. Okay, y'all ready? Check this out. Dun dun dun. Oh, this is not it. This is news that I forgot to tell you. The S26 series, they're going to bump up the RAM from 12 gigs of RAM to 16 gigs of RAM. So they'll finally make the iPhone Pro and Pro Max from Apple. They're going to go to 16 gigs of RAM for the iPhone 17 Pro and Pro Max. Google Pixel 9 Pro XL. And the Google Pixel 10 Pro and 10 Pro XL are going to have 16 gigs of RAM. So is Samsung. Samsung is going to bump up their RAM this year for the all S26 models. S26, S26 Plus and or Edge, and then the S26 Ultra will have 16 gigs of RAM. Hallelujah. And they're going to claim it's for the AI. Now to the bad news. Well, depending on how you look at it. Now we get the dun dun dun. The S27 Ultra will not have an S Pen. You heard me correct. The S27 Ultra is not coming, well, excuse me. It'll have an S Pen, but you're going to have to buy that separately, and it will not be inserted into your phone. So Samsung made a claim or said they, and I mentioned this last week on one of my live streams. The executives at Samsung and or the Samsung mobile division really like the thin phones, right? Really like the thin. They love the Edge. I do too. I think it's phenomenal. It's thin, it's light, and you get a flagship experience unlike any other. Well, the executives at Samsung all love the thin, light features. Now, we all know the Ultra series is a big phone, right? It can't be that thin because it houses an S Pen. It takes up a lot of room in these phones. Samsung wants to thin down their flagship devices. Now, not on the Edge level, not Edge thin, meaning they're not all going to be as thin as the Edge. But if they can shave a millimeter off of each phone, they're doing it. In fact, they're planning on it. And that's why the S27 Ultra is not going to have an S Pen that you insert into the device. So the reason why they're doing this is because they're going to try and slim down these phones a little bit. And they're going to increase the battery size. So we've heard on the S26 series, they're not ready to make the move to a silicon carbon battery. But it looked like when we roll into the S27 series, they will be ready to implement a silicon carbon battery. And it's going to be humongous. It's probably going to be a 7,000 milliamp per hour battery, silicon carbon battery. Now, if you thin down your phone and you put an enormous battery in there, that takes up all the room for an S Pen. So what they're going to do is you can still use an S Pen on the phone. Does everybody remember the S21 Ultra? I used to love that phone. Do you remember how the S21 Ultra supported the S Pen? You would just have to buy it separately, and Samsung would make those Samsung exclusive cases that you could put the phone in it, like this case. You could put the S21 Ultra in there, and then it would have a little slot on the side of your S Pen. That's what they're going to do with the S27 Ultra. So it'll still support an S Pen. You just won't be able to stick it inside the phone. And then, a lot more people are probably going to lose their S Pen. I don't think I lost mine. I got lucky. Always kept it in that case, right? So it'll come with a whole set of accessories. And yeah, so they're going to slim it down and they're going to increase the battery. And there goes because look, the S Pen takes up a lot of room. Like, I don't know if people realize that, but look, it takes up a decent amount of room. Like, if anybody has opened up a phone, they are crammed. Like, they literally find every nook and cranny to shove stuff in and make this smaller. And every year they condense it a little smaller. Every year the CPUs get a little smaller and a little smaller. Well, guess what? The vibration motor every year it gets a little smaller and a little smaller. The speaker every year it gets a little smaller and a little smaller. The cable ribbons that connect the display get a little smaller and a little smaller. So you see where I'm getting at, right? That little silo in there that keeps your in is taking up a ton of room. And the only way for Samsung to slim this down, to put a bigger battery in there, is to get rid of this slot, and you can use an S Pen and just connect it to the side or keep it in your pocket. Do whatever you want to do with it. But the S27 Ultra will not have a silo to insert an S Pen. So how do y'all feel? I know there's some people that's going to hate it. There's some people that probably not necessarily okay with it. Kind of like me. I'm not okay with it, but I understand why they're doing it. They basically don't have a choice. If you want to get slimmer and you want to put an enormous battery in here, you're going to have to get rid of the S Pen, a silo, right? I understand it. It is what it is. I use my S Pen quite a bit. I know there's a lot of people, I can't remember the number, the percentage, but there's a lot of people that don't even pull it out, that they just want to buy the very best Samsung phone and don't even really use the S Pen. Now, I edit a lot of videos. I do thumbnails on my phones, so I actually use my S Pen for editing and thumbnails and all sorts of shit. But how does that make you feel? You happy? You sad? Are you mad at Samsung? Is it a bummer? Let's see. You're talking about the satellite connectivity? Yes. That's what it's for, too. Angel says, well, if I were to upgrade to the S27 Ultra, the S Pen would not be missed. Honestly, I never use it. See? Perfect example. And that's completely... there's periods where I may go a week or two without using it. But I use it quite a bit. When I used the S25 Edge, I did not miss the S Pen. When I switched back to my S25 Ultra, I'm using the S Pen again. So it's kind of like, if I have it, cool. If I don't, no big deal, right? But I like to have it there. But just having the functionality, because I was thinking, I remember using my S21 Ultra, and I was like, damn, was it a big bummer I couldn't insert it into my phone? But I was like, no, they had that case. I remember using that case where I could connect the S Pen in there. So I think I'll be fine with it, honestly. I mean, as long as, but you know what's going to suck is they're going to charge an extra $50 for that S Pen. You know, like it's not going to come with the phone. You're going to probably have to buy it from Samsung. But you can, if you have a Samsung tablet, you can use an older S Pen from a Samsung tablet on your phone. You don't have to buy a brand new one from Samsung for $50, right? You could even buy, there's some used ones you can buy on eBay that will work with your S27 Ultra if it doesn't come with an S Pen for $20, right? I think you can buy, are there third-party companies that sell S Pens? I'm not sure. Let me go on Amazon and see. Amazon. I don't think they have their technology, they outsource their technology, meaning like I don't think there's third-party S Pens. I think you have to have a Samsung branded S Pen for it to work. Let's see. Samsung S Pen. Galaxy S23, 24, 25 Ultra S Pen replacement. Oh, $16. 2-pack for $16. Damn, so $8 a pop. So you see what I'm saying? Okay, so an official S24 Ultra S Pen, $40. But you can get them for, you can get two for $16. So it's not that big of a deal. Interesting. So they are interchangeable. So you can use an S Pen that came with your Samsung Galaxy Tab S7. You can use that S Pen on your S25 Ultra. They all use that same technology inside that pen where they all connect to your phone. You just have to go into settings and connect it. But once you connect it through the settings, once you pair it with your phone, you can use it. I feel they're making a mistake, but let the numbers do the talking. Trust me, the quality would be questionable. I don't necessarily trust the... oh, you're talking about the S Pen? I mean, the third-party S Pens? Yeah, I know, right? That's if you want to save a few extra bucks, right? Numbers do the talking, and trust me, Samsung is number crunching, right? With these big Fortune 500 companies, you know, that's all they do. They hire people that crunch numbers, literally, and they pay them a nice salary, and they run internal audits. They run internal forecasting as far as, hey, if we remove this S Pen, what percentage? First of all, they know what percentage of users use their S Pen, right, and how often they use it. And then they're going to look into, okay, so if we remove the S Pen, or it doesn't come with the S25 Ultra, or if it doesn't come with the S27 Ultra, what percentage of those users would be upset, and what percentage of those users would not purchase the phone? See what I'm saying? I'm sure they've done the numbers. And look, it's never perfect, right? I mean, they can forecast and predict as much as they want, but it's hard to pinpoint and guess a real, 11% won't buy the phone, but we could increase it by 6% by marketing in these different areas, so it's hard to predict the future, but you can make a good living doing data analysis with these companies. So should be interesting, man. My brother, damn, you always catch the very end. I gotta run here. I gotta go get my daughter a cake. Her birthday's and a Switch too. I gotta go find one real quick. But catch the replay. I'm gonna timestamp the very start of this show. So just to recap real quick, we reviewed the Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 7. The news that every Flip 7, no matter where you are in the world, if you buy a Flip 7, you're going to get the Samsung Exynos 2500. And I understand if users are a little cautious and are weary of jumping back into an Exynos CPU, but I did mention the fact that the previous flagship Samsung Exynos 2400 was actually a decent CPU. And I don't think people should be that worried. I think this 2500 looks to be pretty cool. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. I know they don't have the best track record when it comes to CPUs, but I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. They are all in. Like they've made a shift in their company, and they're pouring an enormous amount of resources into their chip manufacturing division. So if Samsung can't get this right, they're going to be screwed. So I'm going to give them benefit of the doubt. Now, time will tell, right? If this thing overheats, or if it's a badass CPU, if it's a really good performer, if it gets really good cell connectivity. They're putting the Exynos 5400 modem, the same modem that's in the Pixel, they're putting in here. So we reviewed the colors, we reviewed the CPU, and then we also reviewed, here's their 10-core CPU, Exynos 2500 with new GPU and satellite connectivity. We also mentioned the fact that Samsung is going to put Exynos CPUs in all S26 and S26 Pluses next year, and then split the Ultra, S26 Ultra. Some will have the Samsung Exynos 2600 CPU. Some will have the Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 2 CPU. And then we also talked about how in the S26 series, Samsung's going to bump up their RAM from 12 to 16 gigs of RAM. And then we just got done talking about the S27 Ultra is not going to come with an S Pen and or an S Pen silo. You're going to have a little slot. You're going to have to buy an S Pen separately, and it will not insert into your phone because they are slimming down the phones and increasing the battery sizes. So, whew, what a mouthful. Appreciate y'all hanging in there with me. Again, I'm going to get these cases out. Let me deal with my daughter's birthday, and I'll ship everybody's out on Wednesday. So those will be going out soon. I do appreciate the time. And I will, even though it's her birthday tomorrow, I'll still do a stream tomorrow. And we'll see what's on the docket for tomorrow. Question. So I've been presented with an opportunity to possibly create my own Roku channel and or Amazon Fire TV channel. Do any of y'all watching this, do any of y'all watch Roku channels? Meaning if you have a TV that's a Roku, this one up here is Roku. Do you scroll through the channels on there and watch those channels, or do you go straight to casting your phone, or do you just jump? I guess I'm trying to figure out if it would be worth me creating my own channel. It would be either eSIMstudios Roku channel, or it would be, I would give it another name, but it would be tech-based where I do talk about the news. Basically, whatever this channel does, eSIMstudios channel on YouTube, I'll throw up on make a Roku, official Roku channel app. Do any of you, I personally don't, like when I turn this Roku TV on, I just, boom, I automatically go to my HDMI where it's connected to my computer or connected to my, what is it called? Samsung DeX. Do any of y'all watch Roku channels? If so, let me know in the comment down below. Kind of weighing my decisions on that. I'm also going to be developing an application you can download on the Google Play Store and the Apple App Store as well. You don't? Yeah, I don't either. But I was talking to my wife and my daughter, and they were like, yeah, a lot of people watch that. And I'm like, really? Like the Roku, they'll go through the apps or the channel list and add it to their home screen, and because it said, I was doing some homework last night, and it said like 60% of homes, or 60% of homes that have smart TVs at least have one Roku TV in their home. Like, huh. Trying to decide, and it may or may not be this format. It may be a whole different format where it's still geared towards technology, but it would be more heavily edited, right? Like a regular news channel. I can do all that. I just don't have time right now. But if I made a Roku channel, I would definitely make it look nice, right? So, yeah. I mean, I have them. I don't really use them either. But apparently, kids watch a lot of that stuff. Now, I don't know how much my channel appeals to kids, but I mean, not kids, but you know what I mean, like teenagers or in their 20s, stuff like that. But I don't know. We'll look into it. But just wanted to throw that out there and ask and see if y'all watch any of that. I don't, but let me run. I got to go get this Switch 2 before they sell out. So there's only a few left in town. So I got to run. Appreciate it. And as always, I will see you tomorrow and catch the replay. I'm going to put timestamps again in the description so you can just jump straight to the information. So yes, that is the number one. See, I would have to design it myself, which is not a bummer, but I can link it to websites. So basically, if whatever I upload on a website would load onto this channel, basically it would just be connected. It would, and now I could do custom content for the channel, or I could link it to my YouTube channel, or I could link it to a website. Whatever I upload on a website, it would go up on the Roku channel, or I could do its own content. So I don't know. I'm just kind of brainstorming to see, again, if I have time, right? So right now I don't. So I'd have to move some stuff around. But and again, I don't know how their revenue, because I wouldn't be doing it for free, right? I don't know how their revenue works, revenue sharing. It's obviously advertisement based. I'm assuming they would run ads of some sort. I need to get that clarified. I'm assuming they would run ads of some sort on or during the videos. So not really sure. I'll have to get more clarity on that. But all right, let me run. Appreciate it, guys. Please have a great afternoon. Please stay safe, and I'll definitely see y'all tomorrow. Appreciate it. Take care. No Roku for you either, huh? No Roku for me. Maybe just an application might do better. I got a lot of ideas. A lot of ideas. All right. Let me get out of here. I'm wasting time. See y'all later. Peace.